My hair is unprofessional. At least that's what people might say. Even Google says it. You might even notice a trend here. So in this video, I want to talk about the term unprofessional and how this term has prevented people like me and probably even you from expressing themselves creatively. But I also want to highlight how things are changing as time progresses. So let's explore this together. Honestly, I couldn't care less if people think my hair is unprofessional. I'm all about rocking whatever I think is right to express my creativity, and I'm gonna look good while doing it. Let's begin by talking about microaggressions. And to do this, let's first discuss what microaggressions are. Microaggressions are defined as indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group. So what are some examples? Firstly, and something that is really common, is touching people's hair. Imagine you're going about your day, maybe you're sitting in class or just chilling at a coffee shop, and someone comes out of nowhere and just touches your hair. Some of you might think, no, that definitely doesn't happen. But unfortunately, it does. We live in a weird world. A lot of people are affected by what's called the false consensus effect, also known as consensus bias. We're not going to dive too deeply into this, but essentially this phenomenon causes people to see their own behavior, choices, and judgments as relatively common, believing that their personal qualities, characteristics, beliefs, and actions are relatively widespread throughout the general population. So if you're someone who thinks that microaggressions like touching people's hair is impossible or doesn't happen because you can't even imagine someone doing that because of your behavioral choices, well, okay, up next, let's talk about draining questions. Obviously, asking a question is okay, but some people actually push it a little too far. Imagine you're in a room full of coworkers, and all your coworkers look completely different than you, but they're all of the same ethnicity. You may already struggle to feel as though you belong because of this. Say one of the coworkers in the room turns to you and goes, "Hey, tell me about your hair." You may go, "What about my hair?" And then they say, "I don't know. It's just so different." I mean, I could have stopped at the first question, but I continued the imaginary conversation to paint a better picture as to why it's not acceptable. The issue here is that the coworker in the scenario asked the other person a question that made them feel as though they are other, which makes it very uncomfortable and very draining. Something the coworker could have done instead was doing their research on their own, and if they're still curious, they could pull the other person in for a conversation, but in private. Thankfully, through legislative policies in some states, not all, things have gotten better in this area. For example, here in California, we passed the Respectful and Open Workplace for Natural Hair Act, also known as the Crown Act, which became effective January 1st of 2020. This makes it so employers cannot discriminate against employees on the basis of hair texture or protective hairstyles such as locks, twists, or braids that have historical associations with race. Some examples include an employer who has a policy that requires clean and tidy hair, but only disciplines employees with braids, twists, or locks. A company that fires someone because they wear their hair in braids or refuses to promote someone who has their hair in locks. And lastly, a grooming policy that requires employees to alter the state of their hair to conform with the company's appearance standards, including having to straighten or relax your hair. Thankfully, things are changing when it comes to what is considered beautiful or at least appropriate for work. To speed up this shift, companies, leaders, and recruiters can start recognizing that all types of hair are perfectly professional. And they can also create inclusive cultures by not just accepting people's unique attributes, but also celebrating them. That is pretty much all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you really enjoyed, please make sure to go and like and subscribe and comment down below. Other than that, I will see you in the next one.